Hello and welcome back to the demonstration on the math object. I'm going to go through some slides to begin with to just go through the math object with you and explain some things about the math object, and then we'll go into the calculation of the volume of a sphere exercise, which I'll demonstrate to you. So hang on to your seats and let's get on to the next one. Numbers in JavaScript can be treated as objects of the type number, and this type has a couple of inbuilt methods that can be used to manipulate them. Another way to manipulate numbers in JavaScript is actually to involve the math object. Unlike the number, you don't need to create a variable of type math. What you can do is use the math object directly, as it's always available to you because it is a global variable. The math object has several predefined constants, two of which are listed here. One is pi, which is indicated by the symbol, and it's equal to 3.14 and lots of decimal places afterwards. The other one is e, which is equal to 2.71. Now, constants have a fixed value, unlike variables where the value can change. And constants are also written in uppercase letters. So when you look at the syntax for the constants using the math object, it's math.pi in capitals and math.e, as you can see here. So using pi to calculate the area of a circle, we can put in a variable for radius and make the variable 20, and then we would make a variable called area and have that equal to math.pi times radius, and that would give us our area of our circle. The math object also has several predefined methods, and they're listed here in the PowerPoint slide, so I'll go through each of them. The first one returns an absolute value of a number. The ceil rounds up to the nearest integer. Floor rounds down to the nearest integer. Max returns the largest of the 0 or more numbers, and minimum returns the smallest of the 0 or more numbers. Pow returns the one number to the power of another number, so squared or cubed numbers. Round returns a number rounded to the nearest integer, and random returns a pseudo-random number between 0 and 1. So 0 is inclusive, 1 is exclusive. There is also some trigonomic methods that I haven't listed here, like sine and cos, and they're used for if you're doing some sort of math type function. So to revisit the area of the circle again, we have here again the same variable, var radius equals 20, but instead of having radius times radius in the variable area, we have math.pi times math.pow, P-O-W, and in the brackets we've got the variable radius, and then saying that it's to the power of 2. So that's how you can square a number. So now we're ready for the demonstration, which is going to be about calculating the volume of a sphere. The required calculation is here on the slide, which is volume equals 4 divided by 3 times pi times radius cubed. This demonstration will not only use the power inbuilt method and the constant pi, but will also use the absolute method. So let's get on with it. So here is our HTML for the demonstration of calculating a sphere. Again, you can see it's based on our basic template, and we have a form inside, and I've given you all this code. The only bit of code that you need to add is actually connecting this page to the external JavaScript. So in my case, I'm just going to get rid of the HTML comment. So this is actually connecting the page to the JavaScript code. On our forms, we're just using text input types, and we've given it an ID of radius and volume. The form is called the form, So you can see we're using a pretty standard approach, and we have an ID of submit for our submit button. So let's get on to our JavaScript. If you have not already created one, you could create a new JavaScript file. But I've also given you a JavaScript file here which has comments on what you need to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our calculate function. Remember we had the calculate function in the shopping calculator, and this is what we're going to do here. So we have the shopping calculator. The next thing I'm going to do is create a variable to store the volume. So this is going to be our output. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a variable for the radius, and I'm going to get the value by using document.get by ID, and I'm looking for the ID of radius. So, terrible typing this afternoon. And I want the dot value. Still can't type. Okay, so that's the value of our radius. So that's getting it from this ID here from the form. The next thing I'm going to do is making sure that it's a positive number. We can't have a negative number. So I'm using the absolute to do that. Okay, so all I'm doing is putting in math.abs, sounds like something you'd have with a car, and then putting in the radius. I'm then going to create the function or the calculation for the volume. So we have our variable and we're going to assign 4 minus 3. Now with this we want stuff done in the brackets first, so 4 divided by 3 is the first part, and then I'm going to math.pi, then math.power radius 3. So this is basically creating that equation, and you may have heard the term BINDAS before, and that's about order of precedence for mathematical calculations. So it's brackets, indices, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction and multiplication. So we've got these brackets being done first, so that's done, and then the rest of the math is done. Because we don't want to have a whole 100 and something decimal points, we also want to change our volume so that we can have it only to 4 decimal places, which is a little bit different to what we did before. We did it to 2 before, but this time we're going to do it to 4. I'm then going to display it by assigning the value of volume to the form value for the volume input text. And then to prevent actual the actual submission of the form, we're going to return false. Okay, and then underneath this we can just put in our init function like we've done before, where we're listening for the form. Oops, I forgot to do that at the top as well. So I'll just put that in here. going to be listening for document.get element by ID and you'll notice that I've actually combined two fields here. Instead of actually creating a variable called the form and doing the form.onSubmit, I've just done the document.getElementID, the form, and then .onSubmit. And the next thing I'm going to do is do the onload. So I'm going to save that. Now I have the page and I'm just going to refresh it. So if I had a radius of say 5 and I click calculate, something didn't quite work right there. So error console. So in my okay, so this is a syntax error. You'll see on line 7, and it's good that I can show you this. I've got a double quote instead of single quotes. So in here, I just go back up here, use that, save the file, reload the file, put in a radius of 5, and then calculate, and it's come back with not a number. That wasn't very helpful either. So again, I'll get the error console up so we can see what the error is. And it's doing something about global binding. Not happy with that. So, okay, so that didn't take too long. I'd fixed it up. So now when I go 5, and I go calculate, it actually tells me what the volume of the sphere would be. So that's it working. Yeah, I typed something wrong, or it didn't work as expected. I got up my backup copy, which I have, and I compared the code and fixed up the code. And it was just something really trivial. But if you have this problem, I will be providing solutions, so we can take it from there. If you want to see what the code actually looks like, it doesn't look too much different than what I had, but obviously it just didn't like it for whatever reason. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and next step is to look at some structures for programming.